Hi ladies, this is Ashley Kay and I'm back with another dating and relationship advice video. In this week, I'm going to be talking about how to make a man miss you. So this could be your current boyfriend, it could be your ex-boyfriend, it could be a guy you're dating but you want him to pursue you more. Either case, if you want a guy to miss you, I'm guessing there's going to be distance between you and him in the future, or there's currently already distance, as in you're not together at this current moment. So something that women need to understand about men is men actually can become more emotionally attached to a woman than she can with him. And in fact, men also fall in love faster than women do. Now, the trick to this is that I'm not just talking about a superficial level of love, like real emotional attachment love happens underneath the surface. So for example, a lot of women know that you just need to be super attractive, super fun to be around. This is surface level stuff right on the top. But those things, although they work to attract a guy's initial interest and get a guy to like you, that certainly works. It takes something else to make a man really, really fall in love with you. And that's where the deeper stuff comes in, which is the emotional connection. Now, there's many ways to build emotional connection. And in this video, I'll be primarily talking about quality time together. The more you spend time with someone, the more emotionally attached you become to that person. Now, this is a concept in dating that I don't know if a lot of people talk about. Probably not, but I think we women intuitively understand this. When we like someone, we want to spend more and more time with them. And when we feel a man pulling away from us, we naturally assume he wants to distance himself, he is withdrawing, our bond is becoming less and less and less. So this is something I want to talk about because I think it's quite important. So back on topic, how do you make a man miss you? So the whole psychology behind this needs to start before there is even that distance. So when you're together, okay? And you need to plant that seed when you're together to form the foundations of what he's going to miss when you're apart. So which leads me to the second point, which is the premise that you want to associate positive emotions to you when you're together. So when you're spending time together, you want to make sure each moment counts. Okay, so this doesn't necessarily mean you have to be constantly doing stuff and coming up with new things, and every moment needs to be exciting and new and different. That's not what I mean. What I do mean is you want to be aware of how you're spending that time. So there's spending that time in a quality way, or it's not. So some people will spend a lot of time together. Every day they're together, but it's not necessarily quality time. They're either doing different things or they're half distracted while they're together talking to each other. It's not really time that they would say they feel truly bonded with one another. So this is where you want to make sure you set aside quality time where you're really focusing on each other and doing things that's moving your relationship forward and creating that bond, deepening that emotional bond. And that bond, once that's super strong with a guy, it's hard to break, okay? So a guy, when he feels bonded with a woman, it goes deeper than how she is bonded with him. It's weird like that, but that's how it is. So how do you do that? I recommend you focus on 3 primary emotions, which is when you're together, you want to focus on having fun together. So fun, enjoyable things, you're laughing, you're watching a funny movie, you're doing fun things, that kind of thing. 2 is interesting. It should be interesting. Okay, so interesting means anything that is mentally stimulating. So you could be having a stimulating conversation, a stimulating debate, or you're going to places that is stimulating your mind, your visual mind, or your taste buds are stimulated. It could be all your senses, but it should be stimulating. And lastly, it should be warm. Okay, your interaction should be warm. It should be comfortable. It doesn't need to be like exciting and full on and like crazy every moment, because you do need that quiet time too. So when you're having a quiet time, that's when you have a warm but content moment with your partner. That's really important as well. So a warm, content moment could simply be you're just watching a movie together and just, lying on top of each other and just like, or reading a book. You're reading a book, he's watching the footy, or he's playing video games and you're drawing, but you're like on each other or near each other, and you still can feel bonded that way. So the feeling there should be warm, it should be content. So those three emotions you want to try to aim for when you're together. Warm, interesting, and fun. Simultaneously, you want to avoid too many negative emotions. Negative emotions meaning a lot of bickering, nitpicking, arguments. Try to shut down too many of those. And also, and this is one that probably shock you, try to avoid dull moments. So dull moments could be when you're talking, you're having a conversation, but it's really devoid of emotions. It's very dull. It's like you're just talking to your boss, or like you're reading a fact sheet or something like that, and there's no emotions behind it. You're telling each other your day, but it just feels like you're doing a report or something. There's nothing behind that, no feelings behind it. You want to avoid that kind of thing. And, because I know life gets busy, we get busy with stuff and we forget, and sometimes conversations do get quite boring. But this is where you need to put some effort into making it so it's not dull, okay? Same with activities. If you're always doing the same kind of stuff and you're falling into that routine, it can very easily get dull. Now, I think guys tend to fall into this more because some people tend to think, well, as long as there's no real issues, it's fine. We can just go along, and even if it's boring, that's okay. The relationship's still fine. Whereas women tend to be more emotion centric. So if we're constantly bored in a relationship or constantly feel it's dull, then we tend to want to invite drama. Like we want to almost start an argument because it's too boring, it's too neutral, and no one really wants to be in a boring relationship, right? Boring and dull, like very lacking of spark kind of relationship. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, step number 3 is you want to establish open transparency. When a woman becomes very needy, clingy, controlling, especially if there's distance, and she starts to feel anxious around that distance. This is probably why, you want a guy to miss you, because you're feeling that anxiety. I think a lot of it is due to not having open transparency. What open transparency means is based on the fundamentals of what good relationships are built on, which is trust, communication, and respect. So open transparency is where you, out of respect for your partner, always keep them informed as to where you are, who you're with, and what you're doing. Just like your partner should also be informing you, volunteering the information, where he is, who he's with, and what he is doing. So this could simply mean when you call each other up, you have a habit or routine of telling each other, I was just at the shops, I spoke to my mum for 5 minutes, and now I'm just at home baking a cake, something like that. So you're quickly telling him, catching up what's going on. What he could say is, I just finished a work meeting, I had a drink with a colleague, and now I'm on my way home talking to you. So something really quick like that, just to catch up on where each other is at. If you find there are gaps in your relationship that has gone unaccounted for, and you don't know what he was doing, who he's with, or you find like stories are not matching up, or you are also withholding information from him, if you're like talking to guys, talking to exes, and you're not telling him, then then that is why you are insecure in your relationship, because you're not practicing that open transparency. You're not practicing the core relationship fundamentals, which is trust, communication, and respect. So always put that in place as soon as possible and practice that, every time you talk, on a regular basis. Number 4, you don't want to sweat the small stuff. So what I mean by this is you really want to choose your battles wisely. There's so many things that can go wrong in a relationship, and so many things that women tend to nitpick about. I think in relationships, women tend to be more demanding and more critical than men. Men, for the most part, I think, as long as things are okay, they will not bother. They will not rock the boat. Whereas women will tend to want more and don't have a problem with asking for more, and is creating a lot of more friction in the relationship. So because of that, although I'm not saying you should, not have arguments and not communicate, you should choose wisely what you want to have an argument about. Especially if there's distance between you, you really want to think about, well, should I really get angry and spend 10 minutes arguing about the fact that, he was 30 minutes late calling me, or, he was out with his friends instead of hanging out with me, like small things like that. Do you really want to spend, your 20 minutes arguing about this thing when you could really be, building on your bond, spending quality time together? Maybe that issue, you may just want to comment on it for a minute and then just drop it, leave it. So you want to leave the arguments for the really big stuff that is going to matter. So the last one I have is, instead of looking at your time apart as such a negative thing, because I know a lot of women assume, time apart, this distance will make things worse, will make him pull away from us. Instead of looking at it that way, shift your focus to looking at the positives. Enjoy your time apart. Remember how to be alone again. Have that freedom to do what you want, eat what you want, go where you want, enjoy, the friends that you have. Do things that you wouldn't normally do when you're together. This is really important because in any relationship, although you need that healthy level of dependence on your partner, you should also know and have confidence in your ability to be alone and to still be independent too, especially if you don't want to appear desperate, needy, clingy, and all those very unattractive traits. So this is my tip this week. Just remember those 5 points for how to make a man miss you. And of course, the core thing you need to understand is the psychology behind what all of this is based on, which is confidence in yourself, confidence in the relationship, knowing that you're a catch, he's lucky to have you. And if you have all those right things in place, then you shouldn't have to worry. You shouldn't feel anxious or insecure when he is away from you or when there's distance between you. So if you have any questions for me, please leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. If you have another question about dating relationships, let me know. You can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. And if you'd like to know how to attract and keep a great guy through texting, then I invite you to go download my free texting guide at ashleyk.com/texting. So grab my free gift there, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye.